Hello and a warm welcome to the Irish Angle, our weekly discussion show about all things horse racing. This week it's just myself and Emma Nagle on the show, so Emma, welcome, and we'll get stuck in. Now, first thing to note is we had last week on Tuesday, the Gold Cup winner was paraded, a homecoming visit in County Meath to Screen GAA Club, and got a great reception. And they announced the same day that the horse will not now go for the Grand National, for which he was the anti-post favourite. What do you make of all that, Emma?
Yeah, I suppose first off, it was great to see the reception he got on his homecoming. And I think all the Meath trained winners in Cheltenham paraded in Navan as well at the weekend. So it was nice to see them getting a bit of a local appreciation, I suppose. And just watching a few videos of I Know the Way You're Thinking, he was jumping around the place. Didn't look like the Gold Cup took a whole pile out of him. So it's good to see that. It's good to see the public getting behind him, I suppose. And the Grand National decision, it probably wasn't a massive shock. I think even like before he was even supplemented for the Gold Cup, Gavin Cromwell seemed to be putting a bit of cold water on the Grand National at the start of the year. So I suppose look, he's only 7. He's got plenty of time ahead of him, and I think was the last horse who tried to do it synchronized for the same connections. And I don't know, maybe JP just didn't want to tempt fate with this lad again, but it wouldn't be again outside the realms of possibility, I suppose, that he could go on and win another Gold Cup next year and still have another chance to do the double in the year. So I'd say it's a sensible decision by connections and fairness. Gavin was saying they had been working on his jumping and a few other things, and just didn't want to throw him into that deep end so quickly. And even though the Grand National has changed an awful lot, like to go from a Gold Cup into a race like a Grand National, like for a horse of his age, it would be an awful lot to ask. So no huge surprise, I'd imagine.
No, and they both, Gavin and JP, have plenty of backup. They've got Percival Legalius, which is the Paddy Power winner. They've got that together, but JP has also got a Rocco and I Am Maximus, who's the reigning champion in the Grand National. And then, of course, Gavin also has Stumptown and Vanillier, first and third in the cross-country race, which is always one of the big trials for the Grand National, or has been in recent years with Tiger Roll and all of that. So they both have big chances of winning it still, haven't they? Even taken out their Gold Cup winner.
Yeah, for sure. And even Meeting of the Waters, another of JP's team, was one of the leading fancies last year. Maybe not so much this year, but like even your blog today highlighted like the strength that Gavin Cromwell has. Even after taking out the favourite in the race, he still has the likes of Vanillier, Stumptown to lean back on, and the same with JP. Like he won't be short of a few runners in the national. But yeah, the strength and depth in Gavin's stable is fairly remarkable. Like he had a great week in Cheltenham. His horses are running well everywhere, I suppose. And like even like the fact that he's quite a dual purpose trainer as well. Like he's going to be busy for the summer all the way through the summer. Like, and he's kind of, and I suppose I wouldn't say shot to prominence, but like kind of steadily building up. And you kind of highlighted in the blog how young he was as well. Might be a little bit forgotten about, but definitely like wouldn't be shocked to see his stable go stronger and stronger, because like the quality he has and the numbers just seem to be getting better every year for him, really.
Yeah, when you put it into perspective somewhat, is when you take the fact he's 49 at the moment. When Willie Mullins was the same age, he was training less winners in the season than Gavin is. Gavin has had 78 so far in this season. When Willie was the same age, he'd 72 winners in Ireland for the whole season, including the Punchestown Festival and Fairy House and all the rest coming up. So it shows where Gavin has got to and where he's going, because I think he really is going somewhere very, very big in the next couple of years. But just back to that national, I know a lot of people knock it now, the fences are not the same and everything else. But when you look at the horses in it this year, I must say I'm really looking forward to it. You've got Intense Raffles, the Irish national winner, who's obviously well fancied, and look forward to seeing him in it. You have Hewick as well, which would be fun with Gavin Sheehan on him. You have Nick Rocket, who won the Tayestes. You have last year's winner. You've got lots of things to look for. I think it's going to be a cracking race myself.
Yeah, for sure. I think Intense Raffles is definitely the wordy market leader. He was really so impressive winning the Irish national last year, and he's been minded, I suppose, this year. They were saying even after that he could potentially be a Gold Cup horse, but they've taken the route to kind of build him up to this, and yeah, he'll be a fair force to be reckoned with. A Rocco, like you said, Stumptown, I Am Maximus. I think Hewick is a really interesting one, and the news during the week as well that Gavin Sheehan's going to take up the ride. An interesting one from Shark. Obviously, he won the King George on him. Jordan was his normal partner, but Gavin's going to get the ride in the national. And like you'd imagine, the way that the national has changed, it's going to really suit a horse like Hewick. Like if he gets the ground on the day, he's a fair class act. He wouldn't be out of place in any stay in Grade 1 chase. So him rocking up for a Grand National with the smaller fences. Yeah, he could be Tiger Roll-esque, maybe, would it?
It could well be. Yeah, it could be fun anyway. I think it'll be a great spectacle with all of them in it. It'll be fun trying to work out the puzzle and what'll win. Moving on to some other Aintree news is Constitution Hill. Nicky Henderson's now talking of going to Aintree and then possibly on to Punchestown as well. That must be 1,000,000 to 1, Emma, must it?
I would have thought so anyway. Yeah, God, I couldn't. Look, maybe you will, but it would be a totally different Constitution Hill than what we're used to seeing. If you walked up twice to two big festivals like that, look, maybe they will. Like, what age is he? Is he 9 now? Is he 8 or 9?
I think he's
Whatever he is. Anyway, he's
8, is he?
he's
Or
no
is he 9?
spring chicken, I suppose, given like for the amount of racing he has. Like, so he doesn't have many miles in the clock. Maybe they're just going to roll the dice. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I thought they would have just gone straight for Punchestown though for that rematch with Stateman, which we kind of all wanted to see for a long time. If he goes for both, like, it'll be interesting to see what kind of effect that fall takes on him as well. Because I heard someone saying, like, and it was a good point to make as well. Like, given it was the last day he ran before Cheltenham when he flung himself at the last, it actually mightn't do any harm to fall in Cheltenham, because he might kind of cop on a bit and realise I actually have to concentrate a bit more coming towards my hurdle. So whether it has an effect on his confidence, I don't know. I wouldn't think it would, but I want to see the rematch with Stateman. I don't know, did you hear anything on Brighter Days Ahead? Is she likely to go to Aintree? You'd imagine that race would have suited her well.
You would think it'd suit her up the 2.5, wouldn't you? It'd be perfect for her, you'd imagine. But sure, is she right after Cheltenham is the next question, so I don't think a decision's been made there yet.
I saw Gordon had quotes saying they found an issue, and like, if they got her to Aintree, it'd be 2 fair showdowns for Constitution Hill, like Brighter Days Ahead over the extended trip at Aintree, which, you know, the track she loved last year, and then Stateman in his own back garden in Punchestown. Be a fair cracking into the season for the Champion Hurdle Division.
Wouldn't it just? Yeah, it'd be good stuff. Look, we've plenty to look forward to still there, but then we're moving on to the flat is starting, and Aidan O'Brien had a press morning this morning, and he came out with a few big statements. It's rocked the anti-post betting for the 2 guineas coming up. He's the Lion in Winter is now a doubt for the 2,000 guineas, and less of a doubt, but still not certain to run, as Lake Victoria in the 1,000 guineas. What do you make of all that, Emma?
Yeah, surprising, I suppose, because we had just read at the Races stable tour over the weekend. I don't know, was it done Thursday or Friday, saying that they were both kind of on course for it. So I suppose different news coming out today. I suppose Lake Victoria, they were saying, like, obviously she went to the Breeders' Cup. She had a long year last year. And they gave her an extended break, which is, you know, you can see every reason for it. He was talking about going for the Athesi, I think, the day after the Guineas, if she wasn't right for the Guineas, which probably makes sense. Like, you know, people might be saying, you know, if she's ready to run, she's ready to run, but the Athesi would be a lot easier race than the Guineas, I suppose, as everyone knows. But the Lion in Winter is a strange one. Like, we haven't seen him in a long time. He missed some of his late season targets last year as well, didn't he? He haven't seen him since he won the Acom.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a strange one, isn't it? Like, I was reading the quotes at the races, and it was all how the Guineas was the number 1, and how he's so fast he mightn't stay the Derby trip, and now it's Dante Derby. So I don't know what to make of it. It's all up in the air, I suppose. But it wouldn't be like an Aidan O'Brien stable morning unless there was some big news showing in. I suppose I was kind of unfortunate I couldn't go this morning, but always some good stories out of it. And the flats definitely back the weekend at Nace. Was the Madrid yesterday? Yeah, could see kind of me and Johnny did a preview on Friday saying we could see a classic contender. I don't think we did, but I think it's nice to have the flat back as well. The sun is shining, and see if summer is coming, definitely.
Yeah, I suppose the difference between, I think Kevin Blake went down to last week to Aidan's to do his preview, but in the meantime, before all the press went down this morning, Aidan had brought the horses to work at the Curragh last weekend, so I presume that was whatever he saw in the Curragh with the Lion in Winter, he doesn't think he'll be right in time, is basically what he's saying, and he's saying something similar with Lake Victoria. So interesting there. One other interesting thing that came out of it, I don't know, you might know more about this than I do, but I couldn't believe Aidan was saying he was talking about his 2-year-olds, and none of them are named yet. You would think they'd surely be named by now. They've known for 2 years these things are going to run in a few weeks. You think they'd have the names all sorted? Maybe not.
I don't know. I'd imagine that they probably have a system for naming where they keep the good names for the good horses. Maybe they kind of wait until they start working or something to kind of file them into who gets what name. I'm not sure really. That'd be my guess of it if I was to guess. But yeah, it's strange not named yet, because it won't be long before they'd be running, you'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, here's another bit of news. We'll switch over to something else now. Is the fact that we heard this morning Neil Callan. This is very interesting. He's after getting an 8-month ban from the BHA, but it's suspended for 2 years. So he doesn't have to serve the ban for now. Suspended for 2 years for good behaviour or whatever, and a 1,500 quid fine. Basically, it's about comments he made on social media, which they're saying they were irresponsible and he shouldn't have said it. All about the BHA, basically. So he's got a rap over the knuckles with this, which is fair enough. Okay, I've no major issue with that. But what is really interesting in the statement is the fact that they're saying that if he commits any offence over the next 2 years, a riding offence that is, so if he gets done for the whip or careless riding, dangerous riding, whatever it may be, that it would then be open to any future judicial panel to activate the suspension and any other penalties on top of that as well. So basically, if he was to get, by my reading of it, if he was to get 5 days for excessive use of the whip in some race in 3 weeks' time, he could actually get the whole 8 months that he has to serve as well. That seems ludicrous. Does it to you, Emma?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, you'd imagine if there was a stipulation like that in the conditions of the suspension of the ban, like it would just be, if he went back on Twitter and started tweeting the same stuff that he used to be. But yeah, like the fact that it could be a riding offence that triggers it, like it doesn't make a whole pile of sense, because the original ban has nothing to do with he's riding on the track. It's more his behaviour off the track is the thing. I was trying to think back. I remember I used to see him tweeting a few controversial things, I suppose. To be fair, I think the ban is way too harsh anyway in general, even taking out the side the stipulation of, it could be enforced if he does something wrong on the track. But like, to get 8 months for, I think it was 3 tweets he wrote. I don't remember exactly what he said. Look, maybe they could have been bad, but still, it seems a bit much. I mean, like, put him to the side, give him a 10 grand fine. That should be enough. I think banning him for 8 months just seems a bit much. It kind of reminds you of the Premier League there when, remember Klopp used to be afraid to say anything about the referees because he'd get in trouble afterwards. But they used to only get fined. They weren't banned from going to the matches. Like, so, yeah, no. So I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me now.
Yeah, they might stick Klopp up into the stand, would they? Wouldn't let him on the touchline or whatever for a couple of games. Yeah, similar stuff, I suppose. What else have we got to talk about? Loads of other things, really. One of them was Jim Bolger had his first National Hunt winner since Annie Power won a bumper at Wexford in 2012 when a horse called Eastern Legend finally won at Navan on Saturday. That's some going, isn't it? 84 years of age, Jim Bolger is, and he's now back in the game with a hurdle winner.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit of a collector's item. I didn't realise it was that long. He's had winners in his colours, I'm sure. Did Brendan Duke train a few winners in those colours in the meantime? Right. So maybe didn't make it feel as long as it was in between winners. But I suppose he doesn't have a whole pile for that sphere. Yeah, I didn't realise he was 84. I don't know, was he racing at the weekend now? But I saw pictures of him racing at the opening meeting at the Curran. Looks very well for his age, so I'm sure he's got no intention of slowing down. And the news the other week that Ross Coakley's going to be back to join up with his yard means I'd say there's no intention to slow down at all. So yeah, it's great to see it. I suppose Jim Bolger still going strong.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Ross Coakley, that's a good partnership, I would have thought, and I presume there must be plenty of horses for Ross to come back from the UK because he was doing very well over there for the last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, you'd imagine so. I don't think he'd come back if there wouldn't be. And he had a fair few spins from already, and yeah, he's a good rider. And I thought he was actually in the UK for longer. I was reading his interview. Was he there for only 3 or 4 years? But he did very well out there. So you'd imagine the fact that he came back to Bolger, there must be plenty of horses for him to ride.
Yeah, another fella I see is got a new place of work is Ronan Whelan. He rode for Aidan yesterday in the last race. And I see, obviously, he was riding mainly for Michael Halford, who's after giving up training. So he had to find a new place. So now he's down in Ballydoyle. So he could do well down there. There's plenty of rich pickings for those outside of Ryan Moore, isn't there, in that yard?
Yeah, I didn't realise he had linked up with Ballydoyle. I saw him riding right. But yeah, Jesus, it's not a bad place to fall into, I suppose. There'd be plenty of spares going there. Like, you'd see loads of lads riding winners in, if there was a couple of meetings on, or if there was spares going in some of those races where they have plenty of runners. And Ronan Whelan is a rider you wouldn't mind having on board at all. I think he's top class. And I'd say he could fall into some nice rides in Ballydoyle there, couldn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I would have thought so. Another thing I noticed then, going a bit further afield, is Vauban won in Australia in the last week. Rich Ritchie, of course, sold him, and he's now based down there, won on the flat. So it'll be interesting to see what he's going to do for the rest of the year. Will he be back to this Melbourne Cup again?
Yeah, you'd imagine that would be the target. Was it $2 million he made or something along those lines? Like, it was mental money for what is he, a 7-year-old gelding? But I suppose the prize money in Australia is just so strong. It probably doesn't make a whole pile of difference to them. Did Richie retain an interest in that, or am I imagining it?
I think you might be imagining it, but you could be right. I
Yeah,
don't know. I thought he sold. There you are.
I could have totally made that up now, but however it worked out, he was impressive. I just saw the video of it on Twitter now. It was 10 furlongs, I'm sure he won over, and he didn't seem to like Australia at all when he went down with Willie. But I suppose the fact that he's kind of down there now and he's settled, maybe he just didn't like the traveling up and down. But you'd hope he can go on and kick on and do good things for his new connections after they invested so much money in him anyway.
Wouldn't you just? Yeah. One other thing to note from last week was down in Cork on Thursday. There were a couple of bad falls. There was Nagle Prendergast Road, Jacobek Cavern. If you'd seen that race, the horse was all over a winner. He was miles clear when he fell at the last, but Nagle had to be taken off to hospital. He was okay going there, I think. Well, as in, I don't know what his injuries are, but basically he was conscious and talking and everything else, so nothing major. And then another girl called Ellie Holden, she fell off a horse in a later race called Ain't No Sunshine. She was also brought to hospital, so we hope that they both have speedy recoveries, because with the recent issues we've had with this, we don't like to see jockeys going to hospital. That's the bottom line lately. Anyway, we'll move on to one other thing, Emma, just a quick talk about this, and we might go into it with more detail when Johnny's with us maybe next week, is Coolmore sending entire horses over hurdles in France. There's been a few of them recently. I think they're all walking the parks, are they?
Yeah, I think was it a couple of weeks ago on Nick Club Daily that Amanda Zotterholm, who trains them with her partner Noel George, was on, and she kind of was explaining how Coolmore had sent all these 3-year-old colts over to kind of in hope of finding a successor to walk in the park, which was kind of interesting. Like, it would be kind of big news at the time. And I suppose walk in the park, he must be 25 or 6 now, so he's not going to be around forever. And like, it's kind of something Johnny has spoken about plenty, so we might chat about it more next week, but I suppose just give it a quick mention anyway. And it was interesting. I listened to Jerry O'Hearn speaking on it as well during the week, and it kind of seems to be maybe a shift in kind of a shift in tide a bit in the national hunt, because, you know, it's kind of for a while now the French have been kind of, I won't say dominating, but they've been kind of slowly kind of pushing in further on Irish racing. These French, maybe not so much bred, but French kind of trained and produced horses seem to be kind of flavour of the day for plenty of trainers, and you can kind of see why. And because they're starting so much earlier, and like, you know, if you have a French 4-year-old meeting an Irish 4-year-old, like, you know, the French 4-year-old's probably broken as a yearling, whereas the Irish 4-year-old probably broken last year. And it was just interesting that Coolmore kind of recognised it, and probably not the first time they tried to do it. If you'd imagine, like the Sir Eric or something, and a couple of others down a few years ago was kind of a similar story. But yeah, the two of them they've run so far have won well. It'll be interesting to see. I think there's a couple more to come out, and like, I know HRI have started this new junior hurdle initiative, and maybe that'll kick off as well, but that won't start until the autumn. Like, these are just turned 3-year-olds. Like, it's only March now. Like, they must have. I think they were saying that they were broken actually in Ireland by Kieran Murphy and Damien Murphy. Here, and then they went over to France to kind of take advantage of the program over there. So it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, and like it'll be an interesting route, like for the national hunt kind of roster down the line. You know, will it be more like the French style? We're not just getting, you know, the stayers off the flat. We're actually getting horses who are proven jumpers and proven in that discipline. So yeah, I'm not sure what you think about it, but I think it's interesting, and it's kind of it's kind of probably bigger news than it's getting headlines for, I'd say.
I'd say so. I'd say once Coolmore start doing something, it's going to ripple around everywhere else, isn't it? Is the bottom line. So if they're starting to send 3-year-old colts over hurdles in France, you can take it that we're going to see a change in the race program here, perhaps in the next couple of years. They'll start introducing stuff earlier here, as you say, those trial juvenile hurdle stuff that they're talking about with horse race in Ireland as well. We might see a whole different way of campaigning horses. That's a definite possibility, isn't it? Because you only have to look at Cheltenham, where go back 20 years ago, it was all British and Irish bred horses that were winning all the races. Now it's French and Irish. So the Irish still do well, the Irish bred horses, but there's a huge amount of French bred horses. You only have to see it every day. And Willie Mullins, the majority of his horses must be French bred at this stage, I'd imagine.
Yeah, an awful lot of them, and like even like some of the horses that Coolmore are sending to stallion like to national hunt rosters, like Crystal Ocean and like Luxembourg, like they'd be probably well worth the place on most flat rosters. And then like I suppose people are making the argument then like why would you start a national hunt horse as a yearling? But like if Luxembourg was breeding flat mares, they'd be started as a yearling. So it's going to be a similar enough physical of a horse you'd imagine at that stage if they're kind of prepared as a young horse to get to that stage. So yeah, I can see, like, I suppose traditionally we used to always break horses here maybe as 3-year-olds, maybe 4-year-olds, going back years, 5-year-olds possibly even, but probably 3-year-olds mainly now after the store sales. But people seem to be starting earlier, 2-year-olds. I wouldn't be surprised if they were pushing them back to yearlings and following that French route. And it'll be interesting, this new, I know we've spoken about it plenty, but this new junior hurdle initiative and whether it'll go all the way through the year, because you'd imagine like having them in the autumn is fine maybe for fillies, but like if Coolmore are trying to make a stallion here, they're still going to have to go to France because there won't be any races at this time of the year for them. So yeah, look, you'd imagine HRI are probably after copying onto this, I suppose, before most people. But yeah, it'll be interesting to follow anyway, and I'm sure Johnny will have good opinions on it next week.
Yeah, we'll chat about it again next week. Well, look, we'll finish up here with a horse to follow from last week. I'll start off and give you one for what it's worth. So horse ran the 4-year-old bumper in Limerick yesterday on Sunday. Martin Brazel has it, owned by Sean Mulryan. It's called This Could Be the One, which is an interesting name to give a horse, because it's a full brother to City Island, which won the Ballymore Novice Hurdle in Cheltenham with them a few years ago. I thought this was a lovely run. Ran a listed bumper, winner's race. Derek O'Connor gave up his point-to-point day out yesterday to go and ride this in a bumper. Gave it a lovely ride, sat out the back, made up ground about 4 furlongs out where he had a little luck, and then he let them all go off and he finished 5th. I thought it was a very nice run, and I'd be disappointed if it doesn't win at Punchestown. I'd say that's the plan, because the full brother City Island went there first time out and got beaten at Punchestown at the festival, but came out then in a month later and did win at Punchestown in a bumper before going on to greater things at Cheltenham. So one to watch out for is This Could Be the One. What about yourself, Emma?
Very good. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. I thought in Navan on Saturday, Gordon's horse, who won the novice hurdle, was really impressive, to be honest. We did a preview with Johnny, and Johnny actually tipped this horse up. He was really unexposed coming into it. Like he was second in a point to point, and he fell in his first start for Gordon. Won his maiden hurdle in Punchestown then, and he went into Navan. Like there was some kind of more experienced horses, some kind of like promising good horses in that novice hurdle, and I just thought he was so tough. The way he grounded out, like even Noel Mead's mare came up travelling as if she was going to just pick him off, but he put his head down and he galloped all the way through the line. I'd say he'll be a fair staying chaser next year, a kind of a horse that Gordon does fairly well with, but he's real tough. Yeah, I definitely like to keep Card Counter on site in the future.
Card Counter, that's his name, is it? She hadn't mentioned that previously, but that'll do good enough. Card Counter, write that down. Okay, well look, Emma, thanks for everything, and thanks to everyone who's watched, and we shall be back again next week for more of the same. All right, do gamble responsibly and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Bye for now.